Hello everybody. We'll make some roast beast on next Cooking with Frag. I honestly have no idea what I'm going to do. Figure that out the next day though. Greetings everybody, how are we today? The hero sausage. Yeah, I could do a sausage. How's everybody doing today? Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I finally got a good night's rest for the first time since the pit came out. Yeah, C and Shades, 16-bit. But everyone's having a wonderful day. We're going to do a really simple preparation today, which is pan steak. Contrary to popular belief, most restaurants don't have a grill in them, so you cook steaks in a pan. Most people don't want to fire up the grill just for one steak, so you want to cook your steak in a pan. And it's actually a lot easier than it seems. We're going to talk about the different temperatures. I mean, obviously everybody likes their meat different ways. I like mine rare, medium rare. Some people like their steaks well, and that's all fine. But I'll talk about the different ways to get the temperatures. Let's talk about cooking meat real quick while I cut the broccoli. Got to get all the non-meat preparations done. For Chicken's birthday, we had bought a whole New York strip and then cut it up. So we have a bunch of steaks in the freezer. I love New York strip. It's easily my favorite cut of meat. Well, I guess that's going to be a lot easier than I thought it was. Okay, let's talk about broccoli real quick. I covered this on other Cooking with Frag as well. But when you cut broccoli, what you want to avoid is getting these little green flecks everywhere. If you cut just straight into the broccoli, you're going to get lots of green flecks. The correct way to cut broccoli is you take it, you lay it on its side, stick your knife inside of the core, and then twist. And then it'll just pull apart, and you avoid getting all of the green specks. So let's do that here. I'm pretty much just making a meal for myself. This is going to be my meal tonight. I'm excited about it. Also, cooking broccoli, I like mine pretty raw. I think there's not too much grosser than mushy broccoli, so it's going to be a really quick saute. You can either saute or steam it, but either way, you still want it to have some bite in the middle, because then it still retains its flavor. Mushy broccoli kind of has no flavor, in my opinion. So I have no idea where my zester is, so we're going to do this the not smart way and just shave off some of this yellow stuff. Broccoli, lemon zest, olive oil, and salt. That is my favorite way to prepare broccoli. Super simple, super tasty. Okay, talking about pan steak. Pretty much all steaks are exactly the same in the temperature that you cook them to. The only thing the only variation is the size of the steak, how thick it is. But in the dead center, the temperature gauge goes as follows. For a rare steak, you want it to be 110 degrees in the center. Medium rare, 115 to 120 in the center. Medium is 120 to 125. Medium well is about 130 to 135. And then well is about 145. Now that gives it time to carry over cook. The inside of a medium rare steak should be 135 degrees. That's going to be that perfect pink, juicy medium rare. Now we pull it at 115. What happens is you've superheated the outside of the steak. Nice yoinker. You've superheated the outside of the steak, so when it's sitting on your cutting board for the 5 minutes resting, it goes from 115 to 135. If you want blue or raw, you probably want to pull it around 105, maybe just over 100 for a blue. But I highly recommend buying a digital thermometer. This is a slightly more expensive one. You can get a digital thermometer that's very accurate for about $7. If you want to get fancy, you can go up to about 40. If you want to be an elitist jerk, you can get one for about 100. But I mean, really, a $7 digital thermometer is going to suit all your needs for cooking meat. The problem I have with analog thermometers is you have to leave them in there for a good 20 seconds to get a proper temperature, and then at that point the meat's cooled down. Then if you have to put it back on the pan, it kind of, I don't know, messes things up. But I mean, honestly, a blue steak you can just sear the outside, but I wouldn't go above 100 for a blue rare. But a true blue rare, you just coat the outside, aggressively sear all sides, and then it's done. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I cooked plenty of those. The Country Club, there's always a guy that ordered a blue rare fillet. The most effective way you can cook, especially a blue rare, since you're not getting as much flavor from the meat itself, is if you have I know beef fat left over. Like when we trim this thing down, just like tons and tons of beef fat left over. Oh yeah, it's still nice and red. So you can render some of that down to sear it in. That'd be the way to get even more flavor out of it. Alright, before we touch this, I'm going to make our rub. I'm going to keep it really simple today. I don't like super overly aggressive seasoning my meat personally, short of a couple like chili spice rubs and stuff. So we're just going to do sea salt and garlic and black pepper, and that's going to do me just fine. So we'll leave that open. I'm a big person on simple food. I don't like to overcomplicate everything. Yeah, you can pull out some pretty amazing flavors if you want to add 45 ingredients to your food. But being realistic, cooking at home, I really don't think most people want to do that. Most people have the time to do that. This would just be, if I wanted to cook a steak for myself, I'd keep it nice and simple. So that's what we're going to do. I certainly know my fair share of really cool spice rubs and all that, but not really necessary. I will sometime during the summer actually show how to break down a whole New York strip and a fillet and all that stuff, but did not have time to do it on this one, though I did break this one down from scratch. Alright, so you got a nice New York strip. I believe that New York strip is the best balance between fat content and tenderness. Filet mignon is the most tender piece of meat, but it's really about what you do outside of the meat that makes it delicious. This by itself is just really good. Alright, New York strip, when you cut it down, they have this vein that runs down the end. This is usually the end you won't see in restaurants, but obviously if you're cooking at home, it's an extra 4 or 5 steaks. This was the last cut on there, so there's no vein on this side. You can barely see it there. And it shows up on this side. That's a big piece of gristle that you'll never get in a restaurant, but still very delicious. Okay. You really want to make sure you press the salt in to the meat, otherwise it will fall out. That's not what you want. Alrighty. Now the trick with most things, this applies to fish and chicken and pork or whatever else you're going to sear. Got to start with that nice hot pan. If you don't have the nice hot pan to start with, you're never going to get the flavor that you want because you don't get your sear. So we're going to add oil and make sure it's really hot before we add the steak. Funnily enough, I got a couple messages asking if I could show pan steak after I'd already decided what it was. That's more than a little bit of oil, but that's okay. Okay, we'll let that get nice and hot. Yeah, Hobie brought some A1, man. I don't get me wrong. I love A1. I really do. It depends on. Oh yeah, sure, in Cryptio. I usually go about. Let's see what this is. Like 3 parts salt, 1 part garlic powder. However much pepper you like. I don't like pepper that much, so. Why do you not use fresh pepper? Because I don't have pepper grinder. My pepper grinder broke, so I haven't bought a new one. And honestly, I don't find fresh pepper to be all that much better, to be honest. I'm not a huge pepper fan. If you like lots of pepper, you can go super heavy on your pepper. That's up to you. You sure can order a steak blue, and if you get a cook that knows how to cook it, it is quite delicious. I've had a couple good blue steaks in my time. Yeah, I'm at a 95% chance to nail this medium rare. I have another steak in my fridge. I'm gonna save that for a stir fry though. I need to make food for myself, so I have stuff to eat while I cast. All right, I can tell it's just a little bit too much oil there, sir. Yeah, I know who Chef John is, Celestial, for sure. Yeah, fair enough, Yoinker. Honestly, a blue steak is not something that most cooks are know how to do or know how to do properly. It's usually not their fault. It's just not very much ordered in most places. Most people don't want a blue steak, so it's a practice thing. If you have a snob about cooking steaks, they'll say, "Oh, never stick a thermometer in your steak." And that's it's because it lets juice out when you do that. And same thing, they'll know how to cook a blue steak, but most people don't. And unless you work with steak every single day, um, it's really best just to stick a thermometer in it because you can get it perfect every time. Yeah, blue is literally just seared aggressively on the outsides and then left rare on the inside. Okay, well, do we think this is hot enough? Let's find out. Let's find out right now. Yes, it is. Got a nice healthy sizzle. I'm just using vegetable oil here. As I said, I would use beef fat if I had any available, but I don't. Sure, there's always health danger in eating undercooked food. There's always a health danger. That is up to you. I am not a big worrywart when it comes to germs. I don't really care about that kind of stuff. Hell, I mean, I've eaten undercooked chicken before. I don't. Yeah, it can make you sick. It's really up to you. I mean, if you're super careful about germs all the time, I would definitely. You're going to be more prone to getting sick from that kind of stuff. I haven't heard too many people getting cooked or sick from medium rare beef ever. It's usually chicken and other dirtier animals that you get sick from. I've never heard anybody getting sick from medium rare beef. Raw beef, maybe, but I've had steak tartare. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. It's good. I am a huge fan of a wet chili powder and coffee rub on steaks. Dear God, it's delicious. Oh, the flame pan temperature. Thank you. Yeah, it's like a medium high. Medium high is about what you want. As long as you have a nice sizzle in the pan when you add the steak, you're gonna be okay. Actually, funny fact: salmonella is usually not the culprit when you get sick from chicken. It is Campylobacter is the name of the bacteria that makes you sick in chicken. It's the most common bacteria in chicken. Salmonella is only about 0.5% of people that get sick from chicken. It's the worst, but it's usually not that. Yeah, that's bullshit, Amadeus, to be honest. I mean, that's propaganda stuff. I mean, unless you're eating old beef that is not overcooked, unless you're eating old rotten beef and you don't cook the hell out of it, you're not going to get sick. Yeah, I did that and you got sick, didn't you, Mia? Didn't you? Okay. There we go. Might be a little bit hot. You don't want it to brown on the outsides like that, but that's okay. We got a nice sear. We'll flip it back over. Moldy beef 1X. Not really casually, but you can cook a majority of the bacteria out of stuff by heating it up. But not all bacteria die at 165 degrees or whatever you want to, however you want to paint it. Not all of them cook it out like that. Yeah, fair enough, Amadeus. This stuff's scary. Stuff you don't have, anything you don't have under your control is definitely scary. Yes, it is. Campylobacter is very, very nasty. Usually not life-threatening though. It just makes you very sick. It's not a fun time. Ideally on the steak, what you'd want to see is a nice golden crust over the entire thing. You can tell my pan was a little bit hot because it's browner on the outsides. Not a bad thing, but the pan was slightly hotter than it should have been. Yeah, there you go, Yoinker. It's usually not the meat itself that'll make you sick. It's how it's handled and what it's touched by on its way on its way to you. So, especially if you're buying a whole cut, like if you buy an entire cut of New York strip, your odds of getting sick from that are much less. That is very true. And like chicken gets processed in factories and all sorts of stuff. Alright, so we're not even close. We're at like 66 degrees in the middle. So I knew we wouldn't be. And now it's a matter of flipping it back and forth until it's the temperature we want. What I'm doing right now is I'm browning the fat cap on there. Yeah, thanks for that, Raja. I appreciate it. Yes, for chicken's birthday we had steak with mushrooms and something. I don't remember what. Okay. A nice sear on that fat cap. Scientifically, the best way to cook a steak is by flipping it after you get the sear every 15 seconds back and forth. And a baked potato. That's not realistic for most people, even me. Well, I wanted to get that nice golden brown on the fat cap. Well, I'm not going to eat the fat cap. That will release fat into the pan, which tastes very good when it sears onto the steak. So every little detail counts. All right, that's probably good. Yes, sir. Okay, here's another note on steaks. If you're temping your steaks, you'll notice it's right around 60, 70 for a really long time. As soon as it hits 100, it's going to skyrocket. That's kind of like the turning point. Is when it rolls over the hill. So if you see it's around 100, you probably only have about 45 seconds to a minute to go. If you're going for medium rare, you really don't have very long at all. So you have to be very careful with your temperatures. So, yeah, we're up to 83. Good. I'm excited to eat a steak tonight. I haven't had a steak since chicken's birthday, which was a fair bit ago. I don't eat very much red meat, but when I want red meat, damn it is good. And we're starting to get that nice crust on there. It's exactly what we want. Well, dang it, Twitch. Why you no smell-o-vision, sir? Why you no smell-o-vision? Yeah, okay, so we'll go over the temperatures again. If you want a rare steak, you pull it between 105 and 110. If you want a medium rare, you pull it between right at 115. Medium is 120 to 125. Medium well is 130 to 135. Well is about 140 to 145. And then, of course, you let it sit and it cooks the rest of the way for you. All right, 95. So we're almost to the turning point on... Almost to the turning point. Sure, Kafka, we'll give that a go. I think that's probably a bad idea, but... A little pink in the center, well, Medium rare should be like red all the way through. That'd be more of a medium wellish. You know what? That's fine too, Yoinker. I mean, I like all cuts of steak. I would actually say New York is one of the few cuts of steak I'm very picky about. I want rare, medium rare on New York. Everything else, I don't really care all that much. I'll go ahead and put the temperature gauge on the YouTube video when I load it up. But once again, I highly recommend buying a digital thermometer. It costs you about $7 for a cheap one, $40 for a really nice one. If you cook a lot of meat, it is very nice tool to have. There we go. We got a nice crust on that. All right, we got to be there. We're there. Rare, medium rare. Oh yeah, baby. There it is. All right, so this is just gonna sit on the plate. That's all it's gonna do. It's gonna sit there while we cook everything else and become delicious. Okay, so I'm gonna leave some of this beef stuff in the pan, not so much the fat, but the little crusties and whatnot, and that's what we're gonna use to cook the broccoli in. And we'll add a little oil later. So to get all the crusty stuff off the pan, we're gonna add just a smidge of water, and then we're gonna steep the broccoli in there. Now, the reason I pour the oil off is that if you don't pour most of the oil off and then you go to add water, you're going to have an explosion. If you've ever cooked bacon in the morning without a shirt on, that is exactly what happens. Bacon's very wet, and then the fat cooks down, and the water and the fat together is what makes it pop off the pan and burn you. Now you can just as easily steam this, but I thought I could get a little more flavor out of doing it that way. Yeah, morning bacon shirtless is a very scary game, but it's the exact same deal. You never want to add water to fat. It's like throwing an ice cube in a deep fryer. It's just a bad idea. Rutherford, the link to the recipe, well, it's not technically the recipe. I'll have the full recipe posted. This is a very simple one, though. The ingredient list is posted on the previous week's YouTube. I do that every week. Okay, I don't necessarily want this to brown, but I do want it to be done, so we're going to add a little more water. This is essentially the same as steaming, I guess. Not exactly, but just adding a little water to the pan to keep it from browning. And then the water will cook off, and we'll have finished broccoli. Yes, the steak is 100% done. However, to properly cook a steak, you must let it sit for about 5 minutes on the cutting board of the plate, or whatever, so it can finish cooking. We pulled it at like 112 degrees. It's going to go up to about 130, 135 as it sits there, because the outside is superheated and the inside's still very rare. So if you let it sit for about 5 minutes on the plate, it's going to finish off properly. That goes for almost all foods. Like if you need chicken to be 165, which is the temperature for Washington cooking chicken, you can safely pull it at about 150. I can't remember if this is Califon or not. I think it's Ameriware is the brand of pans I'm currently using. I have used Califon pans though, and they are very nice. I'd highly recommend Califon as well. Okay, so broccoli. I think this is about perfect. This little piece. Obviously the big pieces aren't done, but I still want a little bite on there. Perfect. For me, when broccoli is that dark green on the outside, it's done. I really think most people overdo it. Broccoli tastes good raw, but it tastes even better just slightly cooked. Alright. So that's all the cooking we're doing. I just got to finish this off with a little salt, olive oil, and the lemon zest that we cut up, and I have dinner. Okay, a little salt. Don't need much, just enough to coat it. less than a teaspoon. Alright, we'll cut the steak open. I gotta know what the inside looks like. Oh yeah. There we go. Nice medium rare. A little bit on the verge of medium, but on New York's it's hard because it's a skinnier steak. If you're doing a fillet, oh god, that's good. If you're doing a fillet, it's a lot easier to sear the outside, so there's always going to be a little brown portion. What you do look for, though, and which I actually managed to do on this one, not my forte in a pan steak, is you're looking for even amounts of brown on the different sides. That means you seared it on both sides properly. So that's how you know. So that's a nice simple meal. That's how you cook a pan steak. Go over the temperatures one more time. Rare is 105, 110. Medium rare is 115 to 120. Medium 120, 125-ish. Medium well 135. Well 140, 145, and then you let it sit for 5 minutes. Just takes some practice as well. It takes some practice. Honestly, if you're not too picky about your steak, if you mess it up, at least if you take a temperature, that's why I highly recommend a thermometer. If you take a temperature, you let it sit for 5 minutes, you cut it open, it's under or overdone, you can be like, okay, well I pulled it at that temperature, I'm going to do it different this time. And obviously different steaks have different fat contents and all that, so medium high, Saron. What you look for is when you're searing the steak, if the pan's the perfect temperature, you should get a little bit less of the black stuff and a little more of the brown on the outside is what you're looking for. A nice golden brown across the whole thing is ideal. Okay guys, that is it for Cooking with Frag. It was a nice short segment today. I just wanted to go over pan steak, and that theory applies to pretty much every single meat that you can cook. Chicken, pork, fish, starting with that nice hot pan and getting that crust on the outside is it. So that is a really nice simple meal if you want to eat a steak that you can do. So that's that. I don't eat very much steak, but when I do, I want a nice one. So thank you everybody. Yeah, with potatoes, rice, whatever you want to do. I just wanted meat and vegetables tonight, so figured everybody else can take care of their sides. Yeah, so I can get back to the pit faster. Not necessarily the case, but I'm going to go offline now. I'm going to take it out of subscriber only mode. I'm going to load up the pit. I'm going to come back upstairs. I'm going to eat and clean up a little bit, and then we'll resume the gaming. But sincere thank you everybody for joining me today. I'll know what I'm going to do tomorrow or next week when I post the video. So thank you everybody. Be back online in just a minute.